Whenever you notice that I asked for a gavel.
Yeah.
A gavel.
We deliver.
Federal County Delegation will meet on Monday, March 18, 2024, at 7 p.m. in the County Hall building, Delegation Hall, second floor, 12 Court Street, New Hampshire. The purpose of the meeting is as follows: one, to review the executive committee proposed budget 2024. Two, to adopt the budget 2024. Three, to approve taxes to be raised. Four, to set elected official salary 25-26. Five, to authorize civil service fee increase effective July 1, 2024. And six, to discuss any other matters that may come before the delegation. And Representative Fokker moves to adopt the Cheshire County 2024 budget in the amount of $75,833. Seconded by Representative Abbott. And recognize Representative Faulkner to discuss the budget.
So where we are in this process, we received a recommended budget from
Stand up,
the,
Eric, please.
received a recommended budget from the commissioners, which was slim and trim, but I think we did it one better. We met with all of the department heads over a series of 6 weeks and looked at what could be done better, and I think we came up with budget that you'll be pleased with. It involves no increase in taxes to be raised. I want to thank all the members of the executive committee for their contribution to the process. It was very constructive and useful review, and so.
What he politely said is our spendthrift commissioners tried to put the county in financial distress by a budget that had a 2% increase, and the delegation saved the taxpayers of the county by bringing in a budget 1% under last year. Is there discussion on the motion, questions for the chair? Jennifer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to say I agree with what was been said. And I think that we did have some very difficult conversations that I actually think needed to be had. And to everybody's surprise, I actually asked for a position to be put into this budget. And that was approved, and it was for another victims advocate for the district attorney's office, which if you ever need a victims advocate, I can assure you, you will be very glad that you have one. And after meeting with the district attorney, through conversation, it was discovered that that was something he could use. So for that, I thank you for putting that in the budget. It means a lot to me. Also, there were some things that I was hoping to maybe wiggle out of the budget to help pay for that said position. And that was not successful. So my selectmen, my towns have asked me to vote no on this budget today. And as grateful as I am that that position is in the budget, there's still some more work I think that we need to do. And I'm very confident that when we do this next year, I will be able to vote yes. So please understand, I'm grateful that that position is put in the budget. And I am sorry to have to say that I still have to vote no, but I wanted to say thank you for that. And it's not the position I'm voting no on. It's some other things that executive delegation is aware of. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Further discussion? Questions?
Yes, I'm wondering, yes, Terry Clark, County Commissioner, I'm wondering if the selectmen in Winchester could inform us what they'd like to cut from the budget.
Representative Rose.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am not a selectman, so I cannot speak for them. But remember, I represent 5 towns, and it's not just Winchester. And I go to my selectman meetings and I sit down with the selectmen, and one of the biggest conversations that I'm hearing is about the ambulance. There's a lot of question about the ambulance and things that I certainly am not in control to fix, but I do have a voice, and that is one of them. Another conversation is some of the increases of $20,000 and $30,000 for some of the outside agencies. There's some questions about that I don't have a say over. And there's some other things that are, in through here that the conversations were had, as I said, at the executive committee. So you're welcome to have those conversations with whoever you'd like. I'm not picking on anybody. I'm just doing what my selectmen and my constituents asked me to do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Further discussion?
As a selectman and a state representative, I can share with you the reason that the Troy Board of Selectmen have asked Jennifer to vote no on this budget. We all appreciate the lack of an increase, modest reduction. And our concern is not so much the result, but the process. In our town, and I don't live here in the People's Republic of Keene, so I have no sense of what that's like. But in the small towns, we have budget committees that literally which are non-governmental members of the public, which comb through and scrutinize literally every dollar. They talk about $25 expenses, which really they could move on sometimes. But the reality is the county budget is effectively a black hole to the public. And as a consequence, when as a selectman, I'm presented with a $550,000 bill and I have to pay it or else, which is how it works. It's a challenge for all the small towns. And we don't feel that we have a lot of input, rightly or wrongly. And so for that reason, representing Troy and Fitzwilliam and the sensitivity of Troy and my understanding from the selectmen in Fitzwilliam, as a consequence, I will be voting with Jennifer against it. I understand it's going to pass. I understand a lot of work has been put into it. There's a public aspect of this, which isn't a public input aspect, which I feel is woefully inadequate throughout all of New Hampshire. It's not special to Cheshire County. So that's why I'm voting no.
Further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Jim Quayle here.
Go, Jim.
Yes, I have a comment too, and I also am going to vote no on this budget, but my reasons aren't really very nuanced. It was too much money last year. I appreciate the 0.09% reduction in taxes to be raised, but it's not nearly enough. It's still too much this year. And in my town of Ringe, back in December, we were $700,000 in arrears on our tax collection because people who could not pay their taxes, they were literally in our tax collector's office crying. I heard this firsthand from our tax collector. So I think we need to give everyone a break and find ways to cut this budget. Thank you very much.
Further discussion? There being none, I have one statement to Pierce prerogative. You are correct. County government for most of New Hampshire is a black hole. You're incorrect that there is an absence of process for any selectman, for any member of the public, anywhere in the state of New Hampshire. We hold public hearings the same way we do in Concord. And anyone is allowed to come in and selectmen are given deference to come in and testify for or against, make suggestions, show us where we should cut, and do whatever they want us to do. Nobody shows, nobody says boo, and unlike Concord, we have to use our best discretion, because at least in Concord, people take the effort to show up. So it is a black hole, but any board of selectmen and any member of the board of selectmen that says, we're not doing our job and we don't make open policy is a liar, or is incompetent or lazy, because anyone can come in any day. And if they don't want to come in the day that we're holding a public hearing, the county administrator's door is open 24/7. And it's damn near 24/7 because most of the time Cheryl and Chris are here 7 days a week. So it's an open process for everyone. Don't ever say we don't have open government in Cheshire County. Are you ready for a vote? Clerk will call the roll.
Representative Hunt,
Yes.
Eaton,
Yes.
Weber votes yes. Faulkner,
Yes.
Harvey, Abbott,
Yes.
Ames,
Yes.
Fox. Yes. Partial,
Oh, yes.
Qualley,
Yes, except, no. Sorry. It's a no from Quayle.
I'm recording that as a no.
Thank you.
Representative Rhodes. Representative Santonastaso. Representative Shapiro,
Yes.
Representative Toll. Representative Tatro. Representative Filio. Representative Germana,
Yes.
Representative Jones,
Yes.
Representative Montiel. Representative Newell,
Yes.
Representative Nutting. Representative Thaxton.
No,
Motion carries 11-3.
You have 11.
Sorry.
Okay.
And next up, motion to adopt 2023 taxes to be 2023 or 2024?
2024. Oh.
Just testing.
Motion to adopt 2024 taxes to be raised from the city and towns and county in the amount of $29,067,585. Motion by Representative Weber, second by Representative Marshall, that the motion be adopted as written. Discussion. There being none, be ready for the question. Clerk will call roll.
Representatives Hunt.
Yes. Reed.
Give me a break here. Weber votes yes. Faulkner,
Yes.
Harvey. Abbott,
Yes.
Ames,
Yes.
Fox. Yes. Partial,
Yes.
Qualley,
No.
Rhodes. Santonastaso. Shapiro,
Yes.
Toll. Tatro. Filio. Germana,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Montiel. Newell,
Yes.
Nutting. Thaxton.
yes.
Well, by gosh, that one comes out 12-2, I think. Just gonna go back through. Paxton voted no on one and yes on the other, so I make it 12-2. Going once, going twice.
Motion carries 12-2. Next on deck, motion to approve the following elected official salary effective for January 1, 2025.
Handing out the documents so that people can see.
Okay. Just so everybody knows, this is for the newly elected county officials starting in January 2025. Cool.
No, I think. Oh, thank you.
So the motion for you is for the 2025 elected official salaries. The recommended salaries are Commissioner Chair, $14,000 a year. County Commissioner, Vice Chair, and Clerk, $12,500 per year. County Treasurer, $1,575 per year. Register of Deeds, $67,244 per year. County Attorney, $103,740 per year. County Sheriff, $67,244 per year. Motion by Representative Ames, second by Representative Germana, that the article, no, motion be adopted as written. Discussion. Representative Jones.
I just want to ask, is this starting the calendar year or the fiscal year?
Starts January after they are elected and sworn in.
Calendar year.
All the new elected county officials. Any discussion? There being none, the clerk call the roll, please.
Representatives Hunt, Eaton.
Yes.
Member votes yes. Faulkner,
Yes.
Harvey, Abbott,
Yes.
Ames,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Partial,
Yes.
Wally,
No.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Santonastaso, Shapiro,
Yes.
Cole, Tatro, Filio, Germana,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Montiel, Newell,
Yes.
Nutting, Thaxton. Creeping up here. I'm thinking that's 13-1, but let me just count.
I'm sorry?
Is an abstention an option?
No, sir.
Yes or no?
Yes,
Yes
sir.
or no? Yes.
That was 13-1.
I know.
Sorry. I know. I hate to do it that way because I have to do the yeses and the nos and I will come out wrong because numbers are not my forte. And I know my limits.
Okay, motion carries. Next on deck. Motion to increase fees of sheriffs and deputy sheriffs by 3.5% effective July 1, 2024, as per RSA 104:31. Motion by Representative Eaton, second by Representative Rhodes. That the motion be adopted as written. Discussion. This, just so you know, this is something that the legislature approved a year ago, 2 years ago, to allow the sheriffs to increase their fees to bring it more in line with what the actual costs are. Further discussion, questions? There being none, you ready for the question, or call the roll, please?
It's Hunt, Eaton.
Yes.
Member votes yes. Faulkner,
Yes.
Harvey, Abbott,
Yes.
Ames,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Partial,
Yes.
Wally,
No.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Santonastaso, Shapiro,
Yes.
Cole, Tatro, Filio, Germana,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Montiel, Newell,
Yes.
Nutting, Thaxton.
Yes.
Thirteen to 1.
Motion carries 13-0.
13-1.
13, I'm sorry, 13-1.
You wanted to know if I was paying attention.
And I'm shocked.
You shouldn't be.
And, so after my prior rant at the beginning of the meeting, I just want to share one other thing with that, and that is having served on this delegation since 1975 with a 10-year vacation in the middle to outstanding check, which obviously didn't pay. I came back. Cheshire County has historically been frugal in their budget. And in fact, Representative Hunt and I went on a quest some years ago to reduce the number of outside agencies and to try to limit or eliminate more outside agencies coming in and keep a cap on a lot of different figures. Over the last 4 years, we either had a 0% increase or a negative increase. Over the last 20 years, I don't think we've ever gone over 2 or 2.5. I'm talking to our other folks.
I want to show my face because I just got out of bed or was still in bed.
I don't know who that is. Would you please turn off your mic? It came on and off this year. But I've been talking to a lot of colleagues from other counties. And most of them have been in the 7, 8, 13, 15, and in the case of one county, a 32% increase. It's either been because of neglect from prior budgets, or the fact is they just got hit with reality and their expenses went up. Cheshire County has maintained a level flow for about 20 years. That would be about the time I became chair, I think. Prior to that, as vice chair. Without peaks and valleys, where all the other counties have gone through steep peaks and deep valleys and have found themselves in financial duress, or they went through loons taking over the government. In the case of one of our northern sister counties, that required them to do a 32% increase just to survive after 2 years of insanity. So we have never, in Cheshire County, ever, since I've been here, which would be the amount of time of some of you combined and others exceeded by 50%. We've never been send crazy. We've done everything that any normal person would say was cruel. At least for this moment, don't rant. But I gotta get that out. Sorry.
Mr.
All right.
Chairman, I have one small addition to the rant, which is that I note that also during that period of time, we have upgraded our nursing home. We have replaced an elderly and failing jail facility. We have built a new courthouse and we have rehabilitated this building. So we have been paying attention to infrastructure and not letting things lapse. So the savings that have been incurred have been not at the expense of neglecting our infrastructure. And I think that's important to remember.
You know, over the course of the next year, 10 years, the amount of money paid on bonds will come down to zero. So there will be an enhancing effect of not having to pay the expense of bonds as they close out over the next 10 years. All right. To discuss any of the matters to come before the meeting, we've got a few items, and I'm going to start out with the our top performers show. Jen and Chris, Cheryl and Chris, are going to do their dog and pony show, which is always great, but I can't even begin to tell you how lucky we are to have the staff that we have, really put up with us, do the job they do, and frankly, the honest truth reality is they make all of us look good. But in doing so, drive by the building and 7 o'clock, you see the finance office light on. 8 o'clock, you see Chris's light on. Weekends, you see their lights on. They live here. We gotta have funks. So,
First and foremost, the foundation, prior to me getting here, the foundation was already built. You know, my predecessor really built a strong foundation so that I could take it to the next level. But you all should celebrate it too a little bit, because you all allowed us to do some things that have helped us and put us in the position. Over here to the left, you're going to see, and Cheryl's going to talk to this in a second, and Davis is going to hopefully put this up in a second, is a breakdown from the year 2000 to 2023 of taxes and taxes to be raised. It's a map, because your points are, we are aware of it all the time, and we appreciate the feedback that select people change on a continual basis. And we can try to get out there to explain to them what county government is all about, because a lot of times they think nursing home, they think correction facility and sheriff's department. And so we have to get out there and say it's bigger than that. And it's because you have allowed us to do that. Over the last few years, you have allowed us to actually increase our revenues. We had a federal inmate program, had about 15 inmates in it. We've been able to get up to 38 budget wise, but we've been averaging about 45, 50. That generates revenue for us that helps offset some of these increases that we face, especially when the marketplace went crazy. And we still have to be competitive in the marketplace to get staff, take care of those individuals in the nursing home, to get deputies in the door, to get EMS people in the door, across the board. We have to do that on a regular basis. We started a program here in Cheshire County. We started a program that goes into the schools, works with kids at risk of out of district placement. That's generating revenue. On top of paying for itself, it's generating revenue that we can then put into the fund balance. The fund balance is supposed to be between 12 and 18%. And we've had it right around anywhere between 16 to 18%. That's healthy. That's good for us as we move forward on a lot of reasons. And Cheryl could explain that in greater detail. But I just want you guys to know that we appreciate you allowing us to dream about what we can and can't do. But at the same time, we also knew, and when Cheryl and I were sitting in her office one day, I'm like, how do we tell the story? How do people understand that we can do a zero-based budget? But then we send it to the Department of Revenue Administration. And at the Department of Revenue Administration, they take a look at your evaluations in your town. So 22 towns all have evaluation on a regular five-year roll, right? So they do the 22 towns in the city of Keene. That comes out to about $12 billion, just under $12 billion of valuations in Cheshire County. So they take that number and they divide it by your evaluation, and that's your apportionment that goes to you. So if you grow, whatever it may be, and Cheryl can clearly get into greater detail on this, but if you grow on some levels, if you have evaluations that go up through the roof like we see them, then that could alter things too. So a town that might have been third or fourth, that has a lake in its town and has some people that come in and buy some houses and maybe take down that house and then build something bigger, and then it gets valuated differently, that can change all the economics in your whole town. So when we say that, it's our duty to try to get that budget as low as possible when it leaves here. And then when it gets to the Department of Revenue Administration, there's not a lot that we can do from there, but we continually take a look at how we can make a difference. And I want to just tell you, like in the city of Keene, and this is from the city of Keene's website and from a handout that I was given the other day. The city of Keene schools, they're paying $16.60. That's 55% of the property taxes in Keene. City of Keene is $12.37. That's 41%. County is $1.22. That's 4%. On a house that's for a property valued at $300,000, property tax distributed as follows: $366 goes to Cheshire County. $3,711 goes to the city of Keene, and $4,980 goes to the schools. So we are trying to do our due diligence and really making sure that we're trying to make a difference, because we know that there's some others that are having a real hard time doing that for whatever reason. You know, my counterparts, I'm looking at I did a little survey with some of my counterparts in the other regions. In the last 2 years, Sullivan County, 8.8 and 9.9% increase. Merrimack this year, just passed last week, 7.6% increase. Belknap is the one you were talking about, Dan, with a large increase. And there's a lot of reasons probably for that. Stratford County is a fiscal, but this last year was a 3.6%, and Carroll County 13.2%. So we do listen. We need to continue to do better. We are talking about getting out to the towns and having those conversations with them as best we can, but we wanted to wait until after the election because it does shift over. And we've gone to towns before in the past too, but we will have those conversations so people understand what we're trying to do here. I'm going to turn it over to Cheryl so she can run through this because it's alphabetical. But everybody's towns are here. You can take it and you can bring it home, and it explains it in greater detail. Cheryl?
Good evening, everyone. I think many of you probably have heard this situation, but essentially the county taxes the $29 million that we collect to run the operations of Cheshire County, then goes back to the towns where they send their bills that include the county tax rate, that then is what, gets sent back to the county. We don't have to collect taxes from the individual taxpayers. We just go directly to the towns. The way that the portion is divvied up to each of the towns is a formula that the Department of Revenue Administration performs, where they take all the valuations of the property in Cheshire County, and it comes up with a grand total. And then each town's property valuation is then determined what percentage of the whole represents the town's apportionment. And that is what then gets applied towards the collection of the taxes for Cheshire County. The DRA puts it first through what they call an equalization process, and the equalization process is essentially them, as you probably know, each town has to do a full valuation of their property every 5 years. But on those off years, the towns, the DRA is looking at market sales of property values in order to equalize everything as great as possible, so that if you haven't had a valuation for several years and your property valuation was back in, the years when the property values were really low, it's what they do to equalize it so that they're comparing as much apples to apples as possible when apportioning the county taxes. So that's what Chris was mentioning, is that although we have, as you can see, we have a 0% increase even in 2023, it's going to go down in 2024. It doesn't necessarily mean that when the town itself gets the bill from the county, that it's gone down. It may be that it's gone up, but it's because their valuations have increased, so they have more valuations in order to collect those taxes. So I do send out on an annual basis a letter to the selectmen that tries to describe this process. It also gives a 3-year history so that they can see not only what the last 3 years of information as far as what we're asking from them, what their valuations are, and what the county taxes are in general, going up and down. But that is something that does get provided. But as Chris mentioned, there's one of these for every single town up here, that if you represent that town, you may want to take it. There's 5 copies, but I can make more if, so there's 5 copies of each town available, but I can make more if somebody is interested and there's none left. As Chris said, I think it is important that if the selectmen of the towns have interest in us going out and talking to them, we went out and talked to them, and this is actually when Terry was treasurer. Do you remember we went to Fitzwilliam? And honestly, I think some towns just don't even know what we do. They don't understand the services that we provide. As I said, a lot of what we do, nobody wants, hopefully never has to use. Who wants to end up in a nursing home? Who wants to end up in a jail? Who wants the sheriff knocking on their door? But these are just things that, we provide, and many of them are by statute. And then other programs such as what Chris was mentioning, which is the Connected Families, where we're helping children with behavioral issues that impact the families, just the development of the kids. No, we don't need to be doing that, but it's also a program that's fairly new that we've been able to generate about $700,000 worth of excess revenues that are helping in other ways to support county function. Wages are not going down. The retirement system is not going down. We're constantly having to find ways to support the operations of what we do, and many of them we can't just walk away from. We can't walk away from the residents that we care for at the nursing home. We can't walk away from the inmates that are in the jail. We have to find ways, and I feel like that's what everybody I've worked with, I've been here for 35 years next month. So we're
Starting with just 10.
we're always trying to find new ways to support and be progressive at the same time. And so I do appreciate, and I feel very strongly that we need to do things to find ways to save money, or ways to make money in order to grow. And so, but I think it would be important for us to continue to see and go out to the towns. I mean, they need us, they need to ask us to be there, but we are more than willing.
Representative Marshall.
Yes, I know that you've been out to my town of Marlboro, and I can speak, that's the last week it came up. Our town manager is very grateful for the information provided. I do have a question as well. Is it possible to get this information on a spreadsheet?
Yes, I have, that's actually a spreadsheet right there.
I mean, electronic version.
Yes, yes, yep.
Okay.
For your town in particular?
I don't think I will be actually needing it, but it's nice to know that resource is there to avoid being the black box.
Yeah, so do you want, well, actually, when I send it out, there's a tab for every town, so. Yeah,
Perfect.
so,
And there's do you have the second one?
yeah, then I have one that's a summary that actually shows
Summary.
in,
Davis, you're talking to, right?
Yeah, Davis, did we put the summary out there? Yes.
the summary, which basically shows.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Got it?
Oh, yeah, we have.
I've got that,
Formats, guys.
I've got it in 2 different formats.
What it's worth in 45 years of doing this, that is the most information I have seen presented by the staff or the county, made available to reps to take home to selectmen since I started 45 years ago. Joe.
Yes, I'm gonna make a comment that some people are gonna, it's gonna be unpopular, and some people will probably think it's crazy. To me, it's aspirational. I have nothing but good feelings about the people who I've met. I've known Chris for a long time, who are running the county government. I think you've done a fantastic job. And I feel that way in particular about the jail, which, you know, being involved with people who are marginalized for all of my career. I've known a lot of people who've been in and out of the old jail and the new jail. And I've known a lot of people who worked there. I've known a lot of people who were like the first mental health people there. And I know that doesn't exist in other places. So what am I gonna say? I don't feel that my county should be making money by incarcerating people. And I don't believe that we should be feeling good about how many federal prisoners we incarcerate. I understand that we may treat them better than they would be treated elsewhere. I understand that. I'm not saying that we're doing a bad job with them, but as a principle, I don't want to see my county be creating revenue by incarcerating people. We should be working to make that jail as small as possible with as few incarcerated people as we can. And we've done that in a lot of ways. We have a mental health court, we have a drug court, which seeks to do that. So my 2 cents, I realize that the county needs money, but it's aspirational, and over the long haul, I'd like to see us not be incarcerating federal prisoners.
So I've got one other point to add, that when we talk about the increases in county government and pain it puts on taxpayers locally at home, that it's that dirty little secret that when people are thinking about running for the legislature, and this works on both the Republican side and the Democratic side, is we always go to them and say, it's great, you'll love it. You only have to show up one day a week, maybe one day a month, and no big deal, won't be a time commitment and no problem. It's a running joke that gets told. But the true joke that gets told is almost never do we mention that when you become a state representative, you become a county delegate, and what time that involves. And what we really don't tell anyone is that the moment you take that job, like it or not, you were given a Sophie's choice. And we have frequently failed in the Sophie's choice in that dismal little box of people who say taxation is theft They don't understand their expenses that have to be met constitutionally. And the state should be meeting those constitutional expenses. But it seems simpler to do downshifting. Multitudes of expenses. So if there is an ogre to be struck, it is us. Because over the last 25 years, we have downshifted tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars to the counties, to the backs of the local property taxpayer, instead of being responsible and making the state pay what they should have been paying all along. Jody.
Hey, so I just
Representative
wanted to, so I just wanted to talk about, there are a variety of things that we talk about that are factored into the budget that don't necessarily get mentioned and people don't necessarily know about them. And I'm just curious a little bit about connected families. And that sounds like something that is very helpful, very needed, very necessary. And I'm wondering why people wouldn't know about that being part of what our county budget is being spent on. So if anybody.
We're happy to tell everybody what that's about, and you got a good little spokesman right over there in the blue hat.
7 years ago, I think about 7 years ago now, we applied for a $4 million grant because we really saw that there was an issue. And when we say the county did it, but it was a group of people from around the region that came together because we saw this hole. School districts can work with the child in the schools. When they go home, maybe the issue of really the continuity of care there is not where it needs to be. So if we had people going into the home, working with that, coordinating with everybody else. So over a 4-year period, and I was on the steering committee for that, we were awarded the grant and we developed this program. It was in Cheshire County. At the end of 4 years, if we weren't able to negotiate with the state of New Hampshire Department of Health and Human Services, that we were able to get a daily rate for this, then it was going to stop. We were able to work with the state of New Hampshire to get a daily rate that's fair. And we were able to do it in Cheshire County. They liked it so much in Cheshire County, they said, could you do it in Sullivan County? And now it's in going into the home, working with the family, and being a facilitator of services. So for families that are feeling overwhelmed in the situation, you want the child to stay home if at all possible, stay in a natural setting. You know, in our towns, a lot of times you see wars go on about the kids that are sent out of district placement because of the cost. It's not right, it's not wrong. It's a reality that happens. So we thought we could come in, but we also saw it as a continuum of care. If we could work here, maybe we didn't see them in the drug court. Maybe we didn't see them in our sheriff's dealing with them. Maybe in the corrections field and Doug and his team out there. Or maybe we just didn't see them in the county attorney's office, the courts, whatever it may be. So we said, this is a continuum of care. We got the daily rate and went from Sullivan to now. By the end of the year, there's going to be about 30 to 40 employees in this program working throughout the state of New Hampshire. They're also been awarded a contract to bring kids back into the community. So when a child is found that has to go into residential treatment facility, they're working that first day when that child goes in to start a plan to get them back to their community in a thoughtful, as I'm famous for, a thoughtful and pragmatic way that makes all the sense in the world. So we thought this was an important program and it was able to fund itself, and it's generating some level of revenue that's outside of that help that goes back into the fund balance. But it's important to our communities. It's keeping families together. And we just thought it was the right thing to do.
I'd say it is, and I agree, and I think that people should understand what we're funding when we're funding these programs and that things like that really.
We, I think, have been very vocal of stating what we're doing and how we're doing it. There is a problem that I didn't deal with 25 years ago, and that there was an active press at every meeting we had that spread the word of everything we're doing, good, bad, or indifferent. And it doesn't translate online anyway. We put everything we can up on the county website, but you got to deliver the people to the website. And frankly, at the moment, our website's boring. It's going to get better very soon, but it's It's a dog. And our local press corps is a revolving door, and their interest level in county government is slim to none. I don't know if they're here tonight, but we had to plead with them to show even. And certainly for the last year, it's been no show. So you don't get the press. I think the only press we get is when Chris gets onto a radio show and has his pom-poms cheerleading for the county. It's not a visual you want to go through, but that's about it. It's, I don't know how you get it out there. It's our responsibility to go talk to our selectmen, but then how do they transfer? Barry.
I wonder if you might just mention, or talk a little bit about our grant writing skills and capability and what that has meant in terms of revenue that isn't coming from the
Millions.
property tax.
Currently, we have about 42 grants coming through the county. When I say coming through, some of them come to us, some of them go out to other places. It's about $16 million that comes through Cheshire County. But we've taken it to a higher level in that the last 2 years we started to, we knew there was a need. During COVID, we learned real quick that town administrators, and some towns don't even have town administrators, they have the select board running it. They don't have the bandwidth or the time to be able to do everything they needed to do. And we said,
Some NGOs.
yeah, and so we just said we needed to do something more. So we started a course of how to write grants, and Suzanne Bansley's done an incredible job. We've had now 30 people go through the course. They come in with it. The new course is now that they come in with a grant and they leave with a grant. And what that means is that we're making this region stronger when we apply for monies, and that money, more money's coming into our region. It's critical for the success of the nonprofits and the towns. When the town does ask us help, we help them as best we can. And maybe sometimes that's all in writing the grant. Sometimes it's just reviewing. Sometimes it's just walking with somebody to tell them what the next steps are. But we're trying to do what we can to help with any of the situations. And our grants department has done an extremely strong job and really doing what we need to do. And because of that, we've been able to do a lot of projects. I mean, look at the $4.4 million infrastructure that we put into the sheriff's dispatch. A lot of that was grants, didn't go to the tax base. We were able to do it with the Northern Borders grant. We were able to do it with the congressional spending request. We were able to do it with other grants that helped the 4.4 million. And that's helping our communities, and it's not taxing our communities at a time when they couldn't. So those are the things that we need to tell our story better. We need to tell them what we're doing, how we're doing it. And that's a constant, and we understand that, and we will do what we can.
And we added one new grant writer in this budget because there are more dollars out there, and we can assist towns as well as provide for continuity should anything go wrong within the office. We'd have the horsepower there. One of the people that took Suzanne's class in December effusively contacted us in February that she had already gotten a check.
Yeah.
That's
Well, the Montessori school here in Keene, Deb Gantley had written multiple grants and not getting them. She took the course. She's received 6 grants since then. And so there's some good stuff going on here, and we will continue to do what we can to make that happen. So I want to keep on going, so I don't want to hold everybody back. I know
So
and there's a few other things that we need to talk about.
and next one,
Next one would be,
Luca.
yeah, as you're aware, you all, coming out of COVID, there was an economic concern. And we knew that at the time, and we partnered with multiple people in our community, MEDC. Down we worked with Winchester, we worked with, so we had conversations with Swansea Economic Development Corporations, just talking about what can we do, but with economic development, with Southwest Regional Planning Commission, and then with the Monadnock Collaborative and what Luke is doing there. It's been sensational. It's really, we need to tell our story in this corner of the state. We need people to know that we're here and draw them in, because we have an aging population. We need to draw people in to say, this is a great place to live, quality of life place to live. And so we were able to write a grant for $300,000. We were able to use American Rescue Plan for $250,000. And last year, we were able to do $100,000 matching grant that they'll tell you where they are with that matching grant to really help our community draw interest in so many different ways, and I'm gonna let Luca, you can introduce and go from there.
Here,
Up here.
Come on up here.
Up here.
stage and me, come on.
Yeah, that'll be a real stretch.
You, come on, Steve. Hi, everybody. For those of you who think you were gonna get served dinner tonight, because I was here, not happening. I am the president and CEO of the, sorry. Although if that sways anybody, I can still cook. But the Greater Monadnock Collaborative is the regional chamber of commerce. We rebranded the Greater Keenan Peterborough Chamber under Phil Suter. That's when those two chambers combined. We consider ourselves a regional chamber. And to the point that we've been reaching out to Winchester on a regular basis, to Hinsdale, we've met with their EDA, Fitzwilliam with their EDA, so many new members that are coming across the area. What I want to tell you guys today is Julie's going to do a presentation. She's our director of regional marketing. And that position started through the county when they got the grant before I got into this. Before I took over in September of 21, the chamber got a grant, like Chris was saying, for $300,000 and $100,000 in matching funds. From that, we hired a project manager for promoting the region. The idea was we are a region that has, and she'll tell you all the negatives. We could say we don't have enough employment. We have an aging population. She'll get into all that. But it's for how do we look forward and change that demographic? How do we entice the next generation of people to live here, work here, learn here, visit here? So we'll talk a little bit about that, but what I'm also going to state is, as president of the chamber that now, I want to reach out to all the different towns in Cheshire County and talk about what we can do to help. We have a full staff. You have places like Jaffrey that have their own chamber, Ringe that has their own chamber, but they're also, Jaffrey's all volunteer right now. We love to help them out if they need it. We love to help out any town that's looking to do more. And if there are businesses that want to be more involved, we don't want this to be just thought of as a chamber that resides in Keene and has I call it apartment, has an office in Peterborough, and we just go back and forth. It's really about the whole region, and little by little, we're reaching out. And in the last 2 years, we've done a lot of it, but we haven't done enough. So whether it's Troy or anywhere else, we'd love to reach out and do it. Coolest thing I saw in Troy was the new train, the train being delivered. And that happened because I forget her name that runs it.
Chafee.
Kim got on the radio with me one day, and we put it out there, and she gives me a little credit. I don't get any, I don't want any, but it was really a cool moment in time to be part of that. So that's more of what we want to do. And we'll let Julie kind of tell you what we're doing at promoting the region, so you could be more, have a better understanding of it. And if there's a way you could either get involved or want to be more involved or want to learn more, just reach out to me. Julie?
Alright, so as Luca explained, this is our effort to recruit and retain a modern workforce. So I'll get into the why we're doing this, sort of to start. So I decided sometimes it's best to just do this with some real data. So just this week, I did a search on Indeed, which is the major job search website that people use to list jobs. So within 35 miles radius of Keene, you really have a fair, drivable amount. There are 1,282 full-time healthcare jobs open, 129 open at Cheshire Medical Center alone. There are 538 jobs in education open, 119 open positions at SAU 29 alone. That's where my kids go. That's why I picked that one. There are 302 manufacturing jobs. I actually think that number is much higher because some manufacturers will list a job just like, night shift operator, machinery, and they're really hiring 10, but they only have one listing. So I think that number is much higher. So in total, in just those three sectors, healthcare, manufacturing, and education, there are 2,122 jobs open within 35 miles of Keene. And then let's look at sort of the unemployment people stats, right? So the unemployment rate is low. It's been low for a really long time. It's at 2.7, which means that there are 1,044 people looking for work. And we have the additional circumstance where we have a larger population over the age of 55 and 65. So it's in total, it's about 35% of our population here in Cheshire County is over the age of 55, which means
heading into retirement and we don't have the young people who live here to backfill some of those positions. And our old age dependency ratio, which is the number of persons age 65 or over per 100 persons age 50 to 64. For Cheshire County, it's 31, and as a country, it's 25. So we're in a little bit of a precarious situation when it comes to our workforce. And, you know, one of the things that we worry about at the chamber is some of our employers, in particular our larger employers who, in addition to be large employers, they're maybe contributors to our nonprofits, they don't have the ability to scale. You know, we were in a meeting last week when a large employer in the region said, I can hire 200 people tomorrow, but I can't find them. So that's where this initiative to promote the region comes in. So what are we doing, right? So we launched phase one with the help of the county. We secured an EDA grant that we sort of began in earnest in 2021. And we hired an agency to develop a brand. They created my position, and we call this phase one. And the goal basically is to turn weekenders into workers, right? So we create this brand, we make travel materials, and we spend money on advertising, and we try to get people to come here and visit, and then while visit, do whatever we can to cross promote that this is also a place of opportunity professionally. So here is the brand. Many of you have seen this, but the idea is New Hampshire's Monadnock region. Many people are not familiar with the Monadnock region on its own, so we wanted to drive home that it's in the state of New Hampshire. You'll see the icon sitting in the K there. We really wanted something that was modern and fresh and felt like it had movement. That's what that arrow is. It's just sort of for mobility. We put the lake in there. Remind people that there's also a lot of wonderful lakes here. And of course, there's the mountain. And then within thriving distance is the tagline. We market specifically to people who live within driving distance because we feel like this is a really ideal getaway. So it's, 5-6 hours, kind of big circle around. Here are some sample ads that we do digitally. Really trying to give a sort of young vibe and remind people here that there's like a high quality of life. If it's good enough for a weekend, it's good enough to live, and that's kind of what we're trying to drive home here. These are the winter ads. Sometimes people are curious about how they perform. Like the amazing views, delicious brews one that actually links to a map that's got breweries and nearby trails, so people go for a hike and then review it. That was the top performing one. And then the sleigh rides in the winter. This is our Thrive Guide. Many of you have seen this as well. We published this with Yankee. We had 10,000 copies that were physically distributed, and then there were 125,000 digital versions that Yankee distributed to their yankeenewengland.com subscribers, and it also generates $50,000 in advertising. We've also done a lot of social media influencer campaigns. So these influencers are people that have accounts on platforms like Instagram or Facebook and TikTok, and we pay them and they come and they create beautiful videos and photography, and then they share them with their audience. So we have had I'm going to go over some of the stats, but for social media in particular, we've had over 1 million views of the content that we've created, and we only launched this in January of 2023. With the website and the photography and the reels. So that's something I really like to drive home. We've really only had a lot of the assets ready to go for the past year and a few months. So those ads that you saw, all the campaigns, we've had over 22 million impressions. That means eyeballs 22 million times on the ads, basically. We've had over 200,000 website visits. The website is monadnocknh.com. On the website, you'll find all kinds of information about visiting here, but in addition, what it's like to work here, live here, and learn here. We also want to drive home that we have really excellent higher education institutions. We also had some streaming ad views, and like I said, the social media as well. So just to quickly go over some success stories, we had influencer come to Keene. They filmed staying in Keene, downtown Keene shots. They also they did dinner at Muse, and then they did Spofford Lake. I'm actually going to show you that reel at the end just to give you an idea of what we're doing. That's had over 25,000 views. It's got hundreds of comments, and the comments range from, oh wow, I need to go there, to oh, that's where I went to college, that's an awesome town, so it's kind of doing two things. It's introducing the area to new people, but it's also instilling a sense of pride for some people who live here or who have lived here, and it's just sort of organically getting the word out about why it's awesome. We've had one reel that's been seen over 1 million times. It was actually shared as well by the United States Tourism Department, which I was really exciting. They have a huge following. Cheshire Medical, Rivermead, Merck, Monadnock Community Hospital, a number of large employers are actually using our materials to help with their recruiting efforts. So they use the magazine, they use the website, they have other information that they use. And then one thing that we've just started to do sort of really in earnest is to promote events. We feel like events are a really cool way to get people to come and visit. So like actually the concerts, they were in the program and we promoted them a couple ways and they, immediately wrote and said, wow, we had sold out shows. We had people coming in from the coast. Pekin to Peterborough had a broader audience. The Keen Ice Festival was the first one that we really we bolstered with a lot of digital advertising, and they had a 40% increase in attendance this year. Many from out of state. They did a survey of businesses in Keene, and many reported, 3 times the typical business on a Sunday. Many reported they had customers that had come in from outside states, which is where we're marketing, so that was great. We're now doing the thing in the spring, which is a 4-day music festival that's going to happen at Nova Arts, which is the sort of performance area of Brewbakers, and that's something that's really good at sort of introducing younger people to this area that might not know that we get really cool up and coming bands that I don't know anything about because I'm 47 with 2 kids, but it resonates really well with people we're trying to introduce. And then press. We've been featured since taking this on in the New York Times. We helped them they wrote an article about fall in the Monadnock region. I helped the writer outline what I felt like should be included. We had Keene in AAA, Taste of Keene in AAA magazine. Thrillist, which is a digital publication, also Yankee as well, so doing press as well. And then, so now we're in phase 2, we need to keep raising money. We did secure also a Northern Border Regional Commission grant, which I would not have been able to have done without working with Suzanne on the EDA grant. So she teaches in a class, but she even teaches by being a mentor when you work with someone. So that's a 2-year highly targeted grant that's going to focus on marketing to people ages 16 to 29. We will focus on healthcare, education opportunities, and manufacturing. We're going to work both with our high school students that live outside the area, and college students that are currently here, and then those that have been here previously, so alumni, and really just trying to strengthen those connections between those young people and the businesses that we have here. And then we've been awarded another Cheshire County grant, which Chris mentioned earlier, $100,000, and we have to raise a $100,000 match. I'm very excited to say that we have successfully started doing that. These are some of our current donors. We're working on it all the time. And should I show this? It's like a minute.
Yeah, a minute's good.
All right. Wait, Davis, I want to make sure I did the right thing.
So we have the magazines you mentioned over.
Yes, I saw
Oh, you're supposed to do a banner.
Yeah, it's later at the end. Actually,
I don't know what the volume is gonna be like.
probably okay.
It's okay if it's silent too. That's fine.
Should get hit the sound on.
So this is the influencer reel that's about Keene and Spofford, and it's to give an idea of what it's like to travel here. This has been viewed over 25,000 times, has hundreds of comments, and they just really did a beautiful job. Another thing that's really nice about working with influencers is that I always ask them to take photos that I get to keep. And then I can use them in perpetuity and ads or whatever. It's actually really hard to get people in the photos here and all this kind of stuff, so. It's all right. There's also really great music playing right now that you're not hearing. And so,
I have a question.
okay. Go ahead.
I don't expect you to be able to solve this, obviously. Hope you to be able to, but
I know what you're gonna ask.
how do you deal with the tension between trying to attract people here and the issues with housing? And even the fact that you draw too many people from cities, the house prices go up and up. So just, how do you deal with that tension, which is,
Well, so a couple of things. One is I would like to stress that we're not only advertising in cities. We're doing Western Mass is a big one and other things, Maine, so that people can, it's not all cities.
even just the
but then-
availability of housing?
So that was sort of the idea behind that Northern Border Grant, because I was like, we don't have a kind of housing, but we have dorm rooms. And so I really thought, well, let's work to get people to come to college here, buys us a little time on that workforce pipeline. So maybe we could, some of the housing puzzle is fixed in the meantime. It's an issue that comes up often, every time. We can't solve every problem. We feel it's important to do this and hope that, this sort of iron.
Coupled against an article that came out 2 weeks ago, and I can't remember where it was, that said Keene, New Hampshire, the second best place to retire in New England.
Yeah, I didn't promote that one.
We do have just one other thing is, remember all the work that we're putting in today, we're not the magic bullet as is making choices with housing and growing the housing market. What we're doing today and over the next 3 years, we won't really see the effect 5, 6, 8 years from now, maybe 10. So hopefully the housing idea catches up. What will catch up
Oh, that's true.
is we are gonna get older. And there'll be less of a population here no matter what. So in some world, there might be too many houses in this area because there's not enough of us. So there's this kind of balance. We have to start this now, because if we start this when we have the housing, we can't chicken or egg going forward.
Lucy,
I also want to say that I hope you're also looking at the other end of this particular spectrum, because I understand the need to attract young people and I understand the tension with the housing thing. But one of my other hats is I'm also on the Commission on Aging. Not only because I'm a genuine old peer person, because I can see Dan smirking, but because I do have expertise in the issues of an aging population. And one of the things that we hear again and again and again is not only that old people have needs, some of them have needs for care. Some of them have a genuine urge to go on working long past what we used to think of as retirement age. And they are still routinely, even in the face of those statistics, told, oh, you're 67, we want somebody who's going to stay for a couple of years, despite the fact that the Department of Employment and Security assures us that the average stay for the 20-somethings in any job is 11 months. And if you get a senior who has a work situation that they love, they will stay there as long as they're physically and mentally able. And I'm thinking in particular of a former House member who is an emergency room doc, and because they would not accommodate the fact that he can no longer work a 14-hour shift, he retired. And for the want of accommodation, they lost all of that experience and all of that help that they could have had. So I just want to put a plug in as you were talking to people who are looking for employees about that side of the question, as well as the how do we attract more young people, keep more young people, have people coming in.
That's great info to have, so definitely will consider. We talk to employers all the time, so that's a good thing to talk about as well.
Lucius.
Thanks. Two things. One, I might have my action words wrong, but there's an organization statewide, work, stay, players. Are you working in conjunction with them? And my second question, maybe I should ask right now.
Well, so I'm in communication.
One
with
time,
them.
sure.
Sorry, no, I don't know what's going on, but I'm in communication with Stay Work Play. They don't do any funding, there's none of that with them or anything per se. But, they came to the region, they did a Heinz and policy event in Post-Convene Brewery, which is in Peterborough, and we did corral as many people as we could to attend that. Not a huge relationship, but friendly with them and developing some content for them to put on their website.
And my second question, I think was Cheshire, hospital here. We're down 129 patients or whatever. Now, hospitals are as important as, the schools or their arts organizations for anchoring community and attracting people. Cheshire County may have some, one here in Keene, but I didn't see Monadnock mentioned. Do you have any information on Monadnock Hospital?
Yeah, they have 87 positions open. Peterborough has 80 people. They're in a worse situation actually than we are when it comes to finding.
Sorry to hear that, but it's good news, but.
But yeah, it's a regional issue that we have with this, way too many open positions and not enough people looking for work. In particular, when you think about hospitals. And these are jobs like surgeons. It's not all, I think sometimes you think, well, maybe it's like not really jobs you need, and a lot of them are jobs we all want filled in case we need to have, dreaded surgery or whatever.
Well, on the, thinking about what Lucy's seen in the world of real estate, and is very much what the New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority predicted for our region a decade ago. That Cheshire County in particular would be an increasingly a retirement community, increasingly an older community. And the significance of this is that the people who are moving here from other are older. And going on to Lucy's comment, because you're 65 or 75 doesn't, just because there's snow on the roof doesn't mean there isn't a fire in the furnace. And there are a lot of these people who come here looking for, they have no economic need for a 50-hour-a-week job, but they still have skills. And it's sort of a structural problem in the way we employ people. And there's many of us who would be happy to do what we're really good at for 30 hours a week or 25 hours a week. I have clients that I've sold houses to that fall exactly into that category. And it's really an underutilized resource. And if you want to talk about, when you talk to your employers that you're talking to, talk about job sharing, because there are people who come here with skills and they want to use those skills. And quite frankly, you can probably get somebody who is grossly overqualified for a job.
Yeah.
Just for a fraction of what you would have to pay some young person, which isn't to say young people shouldn't have jobs and opportunities, but it's a mix.
Very.
Can I add that nonprofits are a huge section of the economy in this part of the state, this part of New England. And they depend a lot on volunteers, which I would say are largely drawn from the 55+ age group. So, I mean, I think if we look at the older population as an asset rather than as a burden to be supported, then that may kind of steer what it is that we could interest.
Certainly not trying to diminish the asset that the older population is. We sort of look at it as the chamber and really thinking about the sort of economic health of the community at large. Is how at risk are we of particularly our larger employers who could potentially have, we met how many billions of dollars do they have on the table? We met with wine. They had a ton of money that they weren't able to make because they don't have the staff. And so they start thinking about, should we be here? Should we go to South Carolina? And so you lose one and you have 500 people unemployed. So we're sort of thinking of it as looking at that issue, those larger employers. A lot of those are positions really where you're on your feet, 40 hours a week. Thinking of those in particular, when we do this initiative.
And I do want to mention that in no way, shape, or form are we diminishing my age on up about being here in this community. First of all, you don't ever have to market to them to come here because they're going to show up. The article says it all. The second thing is, I was just over at Sampson for a job fair 2 Saturdays ago. Sampson Manufacturing here in Keene. And as I'm sitting there and talking to them, I'm saying, so what are you looking for? And they're saying, we have 10 positions to fill. We want to fill anything. I said, what age group? I said, anybody who walks in the door. And there were people that were older and close to retirement age or in their final job, the one that they don't have to worry about making an income. There were some people that needed to worry about making it. But it was all groups of people. And I don't believe that any of these manufacturers, especially when we're talking about the manufacturers in this town, are ever discriminating against age. It's what you can do in what their needs are. And yes, I'm sure they're gonna be willing, they're willing to work with part-timers, they're willing to work with full-timers. I will tell you that nobody's looking against an aging population. We just have to realize, I moved here in 2000, I was 33 years old from New York. I saw a group of vibrant people ahead of me that I wanted to emulate, and that's why I took this job to do it again. I don't see that next generation of 30 to 20-year-olds 20 years from now being here. So unless we do something about that, there is no repopulating this where we are. I mean, I just don't see it until we go out there and ask people to come. We have a lowering birth rate. We have people leaving the area. We have to bring people in.
Nick? Well, I mean, if Lucy's is relevant to this specifically, Luke switches gears a little bit, so here's.
Okay, so this is my aspirational moment. Because I've been talking about this for years and none of us in this room actually have anything we can do about this. But this is a problem where all of these different industries are competing with each other. We're competing with the rest of New Hampshire, and New Hampshire's competing with the entire rest of the United States of America. And what we need is a sane, fair, relatively expedient immigration policy so that people who want to come here and work and put down roots and pay their taxes and raise their families can do so. And I just needed to get that one off my chest because it's what from the Health and Human Services Committee in the House, it's what I relate everything to down the road.
The New Hampshire Fiscal Policy Institute would have a lot of data to support what you're saying.
Nick? Yeah, so I was wondering, what connections you've had with farmers in the region, because, we were recently at the Farm Bureau, the Cheshire County Farm Bureau. I'm on the Environment and Agriculture Committee, Southern New Hampshire Farm Bureau. We see and talk to those folks a lot. I recently heard Vermont has something like almost 800 dairy farms. In New Hampshire, we're now down to fewer than 100 dairy farms. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that in Maine, Massachusetts, and Vermont, they subsidize dairy farming, which we don't do here. But we have a lot of our farms that are trying to produce kind of agritourism, agribusiness as a way to keep their families afloat, keep those family farms moving from generation to generation. So I'm wondering what engagement you've had with some of our farmers and what we can do to help them generate, a little bit more income.
We haven't worked too much with farmers. I have worked with some that have like vacation properties as well, whether they, and that's a part of their business plan in addition to the sort of agricultural work that they do. Again, we launched this in January of 2023. And so we're sort of doing this, rolling this out in phases. I literally did just email someone that I know has a lot of knowledge of the farmer area. And I said, I'm looking, is there someone who's doing anything innovative that I can include in our next Thrive Guide? So, bringing it in, but I want to be honest, it just hasn't been a focus as of this point. But I do recognize that it's an important part of the community at large. We always talk about them as part of the, what's so great about living here, right? That you have local food, easily, readily, and drive that point home, but haven't been a lot of communication.
Agritourism is a big business now.
Yeah, so just from that.
It does.
We drive by and tourists drive by our farms and they look at them and say, oh, beautiful, and maybe there are opportunities to go in and see cows or whatever. And it is part of the identity of the region for those of us who live here and people who come here. But what's behind all of that are people who are just piled with debt and working their asses off to just, not even stay afloat. Yeah, not even break even, but try to break even. So, yeah, I mean, if we can't, the identity of the region is gone when that's gone.
Like, we're running a campaign right now for me.
Vermont doesn't subsidize its farmers, it protects them. Right. In a number of ways that we have rejected or ignored. I think we had a bill last week, or maybe it was just in my committee, on what's organic. I mean, if you are a producer in Vermont and you put this as if it says on it that it's organic and in Vermont, that is a real standard. And if you put Vermont anywhere on it and it's not really from Vermont, Vermont will come after you. We have no such thing.
Yeah, that was in our committee and we fought for it, but yeah, it died.
It died.
Lucius.
I'm gonna back up here, Nick, going back to Lucy's point, sorry. We're talking about employing people part-time and all that. I'll speak for myself. My wife works, I'm retired, she works for healthcare. She does not work for the salary. And if you're working at Walmart or any job for 31 hours a week, you're often cut out from that ability. I think what you need is legislators need to build a community that supports the people that want to live there. Affordable housing, affordable healthcare, all these things that we're always being told is too expensive. This is what's going to bring our community together. And I know this is out of your bailiwick as far as this goes, because you're dependent upon what we do as legislators. But I fully support what you're doing, and I'm just thinking that we need to get on the ball when it comes to providing a livable community, making New Hampshire a more livable community. So I'm sorry we're not.
Creativity around how we solve this problem. I believe that fully.
Absolutely. That's my aspirational.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so you get two options. We do have the Cheshire EMS crew here, if you want a 5-minute synopsis of what's going on, what's happening, or by the looks of the faces, Representative Fox will move to return. So is there a particular pleasure? If you want to hear a 5-minute thing on EMS today, raise your hand. Representative Fox moves that we now return, seconded by Representative Adams. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Sorry for you guys.
Those opposed, stay seated. Thank you.
That's why we can stop.
Yeah, don't forget to take your tax sheet.
Finger down.
I have twice. And it's a lifesaver.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Internet.
Oh, yeah, no, I saved that. I want to pass something. I don't think you guys are gonna go. And then I'll bring it.
Stotter's doing their 250th birthday this year. We started the library, which are a big party for kids and all that.
It's free for the last 30 days.
You have to call horse regular.
I really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. Actually, on Monday, I'm gonna go to Spain.
Oh, wow.
That's a tough
Oh,
place.
yeah, it's.
I'm gonna do it.
And it's still not.